2024 had everything you want from a good season of AFL. Coaching drama,
Sack Hinkley!
feel-good stories, new logos, and whatever the hockball is. So to celebrate the insane year we've had, we're counting down the biggest stories from the world of AFL that nearly crashed our website. I'm Phoenix Trinidad from Zero Hanger, and this is the 9 biggest AFL stories from 2024. But before we get into it, don't forget that ZeroHanger.com is the #1 independent AFL news source for all your AFL news, trades, draft content, and now, games. Check out our latest game, AFL Streaker. Test out your footy stats knowledge and see if you can get your name on the leaderboard. Also, a big thank you to everybody that subscribed to the YouTube channel this year. We're really loving the community that we've started to build here, and next year we want to go even bigger. But for now, let's wind back the clock and start the countdown with number 9, Darcy Byrne-Jones's winner. In all sports, there's nothing better than when a match comes down to a single dramatic moment that determines the final outcome. And in 2024, the AFL had some of the most dramatic dying minute moments that we've ever seen. We had Mac Andrews after the siren winner versus Essendon, or when Mitch McGovern almost ruined Scott Pendlebury's 400th game with a shot after the siren. Or how about when Jack Higgins temporarily killed Carlton's chances of playing finals? Man, Carlton really are a dramatic club. But the most dramatic last-second moment of 2024 came in round 10 at Adelaide Oval. Hawthorn had a 41-point lead over the home team thanks to a 4-goal first half by Blake Hardwick, and it was looking pretty dour for Port. But for some reason, Hawthorn parked the bus, and after a goal from Willie Rioli, Port found themselves within 5 points. With 2 seconds left on the clock, Darcy Byrne-Jones channeled Sergio Aguero and soccered through a goal to win the game, sending Adelaide Oval into an absolute frenzy. Number 8, medical retirements. Sports can be pretty unserious a lot of the time, so it's easy to forget that these athletes are quite literally putting their bodies on the line for our entertainment. And in 2024, as the AFL continued to raise awareness on the severity of concussion, we saw 4 players medically retired. Premiership Magpie Nathan Murphy was unable to overcome the concussion he suffered in Collingwood's Premiership win. His teammate, Josh Carmichael, also had to retire after only managing 8 games in his short career. Western Bulldogs draftee Aidan O'Driscoll was concussed in the preseason and was medically retired at just 19 years old before he was even able to play a single game. Perhaps though, the biggest story was beloved Melbourne Demons Premiership player Angus Brayshaw, who was medically retired during the 2024 preseason. Brayshaw struggled to recover from a head knock received courtesy of Braden Maynard in the 2023 qualifying final. And with his previous concussion history, an independent panel decided that it was too unsafe for Brayshaw to continue playing, medically retiring him after 167 games. Although it's ultimately for the best, and let's face it, better for the AFL for players to be medically retired, you can't help but feel heartbroken for Brayshaw and players in a similar position. And if you really want to upset yourself while gaining some understanding of how it feels for these blokes to be retired before their time, go and watch Brayshaw's speech at the 2024 Brownlow. Guaranteed tearjerker. Number 7, Heeney rubbed out for the Brownlow. There are few things that get footy fans more riled up than the match review officer.
Oh, there's no justice like angry mob justice.
Especially when you add the Brownlow medal into the mix. By halfway through 2024, Isaac Heeney was essentially playing footy on God mode, and was easily the front runner for the league's Best and Fairest award. That was until round 17 when he smacked St Kilda's Jimmy Webster in the face, which kind of goes against the whole fairest part of the Best and Fairest award. Heeney was handed a 1-match ban for the strike, and while the Swans challenged the MRO's grading, it was unsuccessful. It sort of didn't matter in the end though, because Patrick Cripps ended up winning the Brownlow with about 50 million votes in a totally not controversial tally count. Once again proving my theory that if there's something dramatic happening in the AFL, Carlton are going to get themselves involved somehow. Number 6, Adam Simpson sacked. If you asked every Western Australian to vote on who they thought the most important leader in Western Australia is,
to go, scream it! Scream it!
99.9% of those votes would be the coach of the West Coast Eagles. The other 0.1% would be Basil Zemplis voting for himself.
Thanks, Basil.
For the last 2 years, the Eagles have been struggling big time under senior coach Adam Simpson, eventually leading to Simpson departing in July of 2024. After 122 wins from 242 games, one of those being the 2018 Premiership, Adam Simpson managed just 3 wins in 16 games to start the year. Jared Schofield took over as caretaker, and eventually Melbourne assistant Andrew McQualter was given the full-time job for the 2025 season onwards. Simpson's last press conference as coach was, as the kids say, absolute cinema. Mostly because he was able to bite back at the intense West Australian media scrutiny. And that wasn't even the end of the drama. As Scully said on our channel earlier this year,
a lot of the fans wanted Simo out and they wanted his head. That back page, in an instant, like within 12 hours, turned that into, we want the West Australians' head, and burned them to the ground. How dare you show such low class as a media organisation?
Number 5, Dusty retires. Every year we unfortunately have to say goodbye to some of our favourite players, and this year was no exception. However, the biggest retirement story had to be Dustin Martin. Not only because he's won just about every award you could possibly win in the game, but also because even though his retirement was officially announced for the end of the 2024 season, there was still plenty of speculation that he'd actually be joining the Gold Coast Suns in 2025. In 2023, Dusty's former premiership coach Damien Hardwick also retired, but a few months later he was announced as the new senior coach of the Gold Coast Suns. So it wasn't exactly a JFK level conspiracy to suggest that maybe Dusty might join Dimmer at the Gold Coast in 2025. And the intrigue is only exacerbated when you take into account the mysterious nature of Dustin Martin himself. In the modern day and age of podcasts and Petrarca talk, it's rare that you have characters like Dustin Martin who achieve so much but say so little, giving them an absolutely stoic, godlike aura. In his entire career, I'm pretty sure the only words that I've ever heard Dustin Martin say are so it's no wonder that fans and media alike will claw tooth and nail for any tiny bit of rumour or gossip. It was all for nothing in the end though, as Dustin Martin rode off into the sunset of AFL retirements, never to be seen or heard from again. I mean, except for like 2 weeks later when he did that weird KO call-up ad.
Okay.
Number 4, John Longmire steps aside. If you were trying to rank Australia's most respected horses, Premiership coach John Longmire is right up there, just behind Firelap. That's why Longmire's announcement to step down as Premiership coach of the Sydney Swans comes in at number 4 on this list. While the decision itself wasn't exactly a surprise, it's the timing of the call that threw everybody off. Longmire was contracted until the end of 2025, but announced that he'll be stepping down in November of 2024. The Swans coach recorded 208 wins from 333 games, leading Sydney to the 2012 Premiership and 4 more grand finals, with his last game in charge being this year's decider against the Lions. Easily one of the best coaches this century, and surely the new favourite for the Tassie job. Number 3, Petrarca's injuries and trade rumours. Okay, this whole video could have just been about the Melbourne Football Club, because I don't think there was a single week where the Melbourne Football Club didn't make the news for doing something stupid. As a Demons fan, this year has certainly been a wild ride, and not a fun one. More like that psycho boat ride in Willy Wonka where they go through the tunnel. The year had already started with swingman Joel Smith facing a lengthy ban after testing positive to an illicit substance, and it only got worse from there. There were continued issues with midfielder Clayton Oliver being linked with a trade to Geelong, amongst many other off-field matters. But the biggest story of the year for Melbourne was when their other superstar midfielder, Christian Petrarca, was left extremely frustrated by how the club handled a life-threatening injury where he was left with a lacerated spleen, 4 broken ribs, and a punctured lung. I mean, fair enough. While he didn't officially request a trade, Petrarca and his management were reportedly open to exploring a deal if the Demons could get it done. Nothing came of it, and it does look like Petrarca will awkwardly be continuing his contract at Melbourne. However, the story once again brought into question the culture of the footy club. And eventually, after an absolute disastrous radio interview, President Kate Roffey stepped down from her role. I love my football club. Number 2, the Hinkley-Ginnivan beef. 2024 has been a great year for beefs where somebody's age has played a significant role. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, Trump versus Kamala, Kendrick versus Drake, but the most notable version of the 2024 age-centric beef has to be Ken Hinkley versus Jack Ginnivan. Following the Hawks' elimination final win over the Bulldogs and Sydney's qualifying final win over GWS, Ginnivan did some classic Ginnivan things, commenting on former teammate Brodie Grundy's Instagram post saying, "See you in 14 days," implying that the Hawks would roll past the Power in the upcoming semi-final. Instead, Port Adelaide proved that Hawkball is no match for Kennedy, resulting in a tight 3-point win and a spot in the prelim against Sydney. Post-game, as the two teams were making a guard of honour for 300-gamer Luke Bruce, Kenhinley took the opportunity to do the lamest sledge in AFL history by telling Ginnivan you're not flying while pretending to be an aeroplane. Nice. Hawthorn would bite back with captain James Sicily immediately mouthing off back to Hinkley on-field, while Hawks coach Sam Mitchell would condemn Hinkley's actions, citing Hinkley's age and time in the industry. Because, maturity is important when it comes to sledging. Hey, Sam. Hinkley apologised pretty much immediately, but he was fined $20,000 by the AFL anyway, which probably went directly to the marketing budget for the next time the Hawks and Power play, which just so happens to be centre stage at Gather Round next year. Funny how that works out. Number 1, the Lions Premiership. I mean, what else was it going to be? Not only because the grand final is the whole reason we follow this game in the first place, but also because Brisbane's premiership is one of the all-time comeback stories.
Everyone loves a good comeback story, right? Seabiscuit, the Mighty Ducks,
Robert Downey Jr., who
Rocky.
else? Yes.
Kim Kardashian.
Well.
Brisbane started 2024 having only won 2 of their first 7 games, with many punters, including yours truly, writing them off completely. Season 2024 is a bust. However, a 9-game win streak lifted them back into 5th spot and truly into flag contention. They dismantled Carlton at the Gabba to start their final series and overcame a 44-point deficit in Sydney's West the following week to book their place in the prelim. The prelim against Geelong was a seesawing affair at the MCG, with the Lions holding on in one of the games of the year. And then, 12 months after their heartbreaking 4-point loss to Collingwood in the 2023 Grand Final, the Lions demolished the Swans by 10 goals and wrote themselves into the history books. Not a bad story. Thank you for watching. We've got massive plans for this channel in 2025, so if you like all things footy, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Once again, I'm Phoenix Trinidad. Merry Christmas. See you next year. Go D's. Bye.